we have really unnecessarily overcomplicated the concept of the Second Amendment. Like, we go into this like amorphous discussion about what does this word mean? What does this comma mean? What did militia mean back in 1365?
Democrat running for Arizona Secretary of State, and I was a marksmanship instructor in the Marine Corps. I taught Marines how to shoot. Why is that important? Because I think there's a lot of people who don't understand what the Second Amendment actually means. For those of you, especially part of the fetishizing gun weapons kind of crowd, here's what it means. Congress shall have the power to call forth the militia, execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and repel invasions. The militia, in the context of our Constitution, is enforcing the laws of the Union. They work for the government, not against some tyrannical fantasy government that you guys are fetishizing against. That's not what it's supposed to. It says so right here. It also says that the Congress shall have the power to provide for organizing, arming, and disciplining the militia. That means you get your militia arms from the government. You don't buy them yourself. That's what the Constitution says. And the authority of training the militia according to the discipline prescribed by Congress. Congress provides the rules for the militia. Congress provides the arms for the militia. Congress calls up the militia. You don't just get to be a militia on your own. This is what we had to teach Marines. It's a 2-week course. Marines have to go through this every single year to be qualified to shoot with the M16A2 service rifle, which is like the AR-15. But an 18-year-old in the United States of America, an 18-year-old doesn't have to go through any of that training, can go grab an AR-15 and do damage like they've done.
This is kind of all unnecessary. We fought a revolutionary war against our government who we figured was being tyrannical. So after we won that war, the people decided, hey, you know what? We didn't like the fact that that government became tyrannical, and we utilized our own firearms to make sure that we could continue being the free people that we want to be. And it was because of those firearms that allowed us to do it, so we were able to fight back against that government, even though we had some help from other governments as well. But nonetheless, it was our own firearms and our ability to take those firearms and use them against that government. So, as we go forward, establishing our own new government, we understand we do need a federal government of sorts. We don't really like standing armies, but we kind of need them to protect the collective. But understanding that, we know that governments can and tend to become tyrannical. It's not something we just kind of made up in our mind. We've watched it happen over the decades. We've seen government after government after government erode into tyranny. And so, because we are establishing a government that's run by people, and people are thus incessantly in need of power whenever you put them together collectively and have them have some power over other people, we decided, you know what? We want to make sure that the people who are essentially being ruled over by this government we're establishing, if it ever decided to become tyrannical, they would be in a position to do exactly what we did to the government that became tyrannical that was ruling over us at the time. So they wrote the Second Amendment and said, because the people being armed is necessary in order to maintain their freedom like we just did with our guns. Hey, you government that we're establishing, there are a lot of things that you can do. You have quite a bit of power in this particular new system that we're establishing. But, because we understand that you have a tendency to erode yourself into tyrannical aspirations, and because we understand that, what we've decided to do is say, look, you can't do this, i.e. infringe on the people's ability to own firearms, because we understand that if we don't put this down on paper and establish the fact that you don't have a right to do this, over time what's going to happen is, in your tyrannical aspirations that may or may not come, you will from a prerequisite standpoint, you will decide to get rid of the firearms. And because there's nothing there telling you you can't do it, the people would either have to come together and themselves decide at the time that this is wrong, or there's something telling you that you can't do it, and now we have a precedent that says you can't do it. Because we know if you do decide to become tyrannical, before you actually become tyrannical, start doing tyrannical shit, you're going to take the guns from the people, and then the people won't have the means to fight back against your tyranny. So we're going to put this document together, and in this document, we're going to say, guess what, government? You can't preemptively take the firearms from the people so that if you want to become tyrannical, you can do so much easier. We're not saying that the people coming together with their own firearms is a guarantee that they're going to be able to beat the government, but we want to give them a fighting chance, just like we had a fighting chance. We had to incorporate help from outside governments. We had to get other people to come and get involved in this situation. But nonetheless, we had a fighting chance because we had our own guns. If we didn't have our own guns, we wouldn't even get to the point to hold you guys off long enough in order to seek out help to help us beat you. So we're going to give the same people who are 10, 20, 30, 40, 60, 70, 80 years down the line who inhabit this country the same ability that we had to protect our freedom. That's what the Second Amendment is. So this idea that we're going to intellectualize the Second Amendment to the point where it no longer exists, to me is stupid. It is a very simple concept. The people are being ruled by the federal government to an extent and to another extent on the state level. But sometimes these governments become tyrannical, so the people need the means and the ability to be able to protect themselves against a government that decides to do that, whether it's their own government or a government that is foreign to them. That is the entire essence of the Second Amendment. All of this amorphous discussion about this word and that comma and this clause, look, I get it. We have to do it because we're stuck in the environment that we're in. But if anybody's being honest with themselves and truly sits down and reads that and understands it from the historical context and understanding why it was established, no one can sit down and read the Second Amendment and not say to themselves, yeah, that pretty much makes sense. The people need firearms to protect themselves against a possible tyrannical government. Anything else is just you trying to play mental gymnastics in order to get the goal that you want, which is more control by taking away people's firearms. Miss me with all the other nonsense.
And yes, AR-15s are protected by the Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It didn't say only handguns, it said arms.
You know, we talk a lot about empowerment in this country, except for when it comes to the Second Amendment. However, I can't think of anything more empowering than having the most effective tool to protect you and your family. So help me spread this message by liking and sharing this video with everyone you know. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment, because the Second Amendment, when it said militia, it wasn't talking about the government. It was talking about you. Also, if you want to know where to find the I'm the Militia shirt and merchandise, click the I'm the Militia link in the description section of this video.
And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And most importantly, make sure you hit that bell symbol.